Hello, my name is Miss G, and it's such a pleasure to come your way this morning. It's my birthday, and it feels so good, so great, and humbling to be alive today. And I'm so honored to come your way with this beautiful story of mine. And I hope that it touches your hearts and it touches the heart of someone close to you. Unfortunately for me, the year started on a very uncertain and precarious note, and that's because my husband contracted the deadly coronavirus 2 days to Christmas. And I wasn't sure because of the many stories we had heard about coronavirus and people dying. Low key, I was frightened that I was going to become a widow at a very young age. But gracefully, and thanks to God, my husband got healed and he returned home. A few weeks after he did, I found out that I was pregnant. Yes, I got pregnant and it felt so good, so good. And because we weren't expecting, we felt like we needed to keep this to our close circles and not a lot of people needed to know. But then I began to put on weight and people began to send in messages on my timeline. You see posts like, hey, you're going to be, go, are you pregnant? And people who thought to show concern, kept sending messages, calling, say, hey, Charlie, who you can see to do, and what is happening to you, and all of that. But my major concern was to keep the baby inside me healthy and well developed. So I couldn't be bothered by many of the messages that I received and the calls that I got. Of course, I couldn't tell them that this is what I was going through and this is what was happening to me. But I needed to eat to feed my baby. So those of you who have been wondering why I gained so much weight, please, I was pregnant, and that's why. But from the onset, when I realized that I was pregnant, I began to visit the doctor, and there was some concerns from the beginning of the pregnancy, which had to do with fetal development. My doctor was concerned about the development of the baby. But after running scans and being unsure of what was going to happen, finally disaster struck hard and deep. I miscarried. My baby, after 3 months of carrying the baby, what really happened? I just told you that the doctor was concerned about some fetal development. So from day one when I visited the doctor, he couldn't see. He said, I can't see anything. So he asked me to do a transvaginal scan. Maybe that would help in finding what exactly was in the tummy. The transvaginal scan came out positive. He said they could find a sac and it was developing. And so but the doctor still was worried because he said he needed to see a fetal pole between 8 and 10 weeks. There should be fetal pole, and that was not showing in any of the results that I brought to him. And so he was so concerned, and I was worried. I was alarmed. Charlie, it's my first time. I'm pregnant. I'm excited. My family is expecting this, and all of a sudden, the stories I'm hearing are not stories I'm familiar with. Fetal pole. I needed to, that kind of anxiety. You're on Google. You're looking for what a fetal pole is. When is the possibility of it showing up? What about if it doesn't show up? Like the doctor is saying, between the 8th and the 10th week, is there anything that likelihood that anything would happen differently? Unfortunately, that wasn't my case. So I woke up one morning, I was going about my duties normally, and I just felt a gush through my thigh, and I looked and it was blood oozing down me. And I was so scared. I ran to the bedroom to call my husband and said, this is what has happened to me. And he said I should be calm about the situation and get in touch with my doctor. Mind you, the last time I visited my doctor, I was approaching the 10th week. My doctor had already said that if they don't find a fetal pole, I think at that time I was 8 weeks and I needed to see him 2 weeks after. And he said by the 10th week, if we don't find the fetal pole, whatever is inside you will flush out. Just like that. I was told. But I kept faith, and I thought that, oh, God would come through for me, and something would happen in my favor, and I cannot lose this baby that God is about blessing me with. So I kept faith until I saw blood. Even in that state, I was so hopeful because it wasn't as heavy as a menstrual flow. But I reached out to my doctor with a message by saying this is what I had seen, and he sent me a message also hours later that I should run a scan and let him see it. So the next day, which was a Wednesday, I decided to run a scan, and again, no fetal pole. And because I was bleeding, the woman the lady who was running the scan kept saying that, hey, me who you? We are sure so bahada. So are you sure that you came here and they ran a scan and you have documents here, you have details here? I'm not seeing anything. I can't find anything, and I can't see the baby. I can see a sac, but I don't see anything developing in. And I told her the fact that I was bleeding as well, and she gave me the reports. I didn't understand anything in the report, so I couldn't tell what exactly the situation was. And so I came back home confused. You know, it was a whole lot of pain for me because the anxiety of wanting to know what exactly is happening to me, what exactly is happening to my baby, and because I have been prior informed that it will flash out after 10 weeks or before the 10th week, I came back and I sent my doctor uh, a shot of the scan on WhatsApp, hoping to get some feedback from him. And that was on Wednesday when I returned. I didn't hear from him. I tried calling, no response from the doctor until Thursday morning. Hi, my dear, you don't even know how I slept. I don't know how I was able to sleep through the night. I kept waking up and I'll say, I'll sigh. I don't know. I can't even remember some of the things I was saying to my husband. I'll just wake up and say, hey, nti akolano, and I remember I kept saying that, hey, nti yesi who fetal polo, and my husband would say jaisa, and I keep saying, hey, who fetal polo, akolano si fetal polo, who fetal polo. I kept saying fetal polo. I think it's one of the famous words I learned during my pregnancy. And by Thursday morning, the anxiety was too much. The pain was more. I couldn't just hide the fact that I was going through something. I was still bleeding, and the doctor wouldn't respond to my messages. He won't pick my calls. So I decided that, Charlie, I must get somebody involved. So I thought of Whitney Boachi Mensah. For those of you who follow the space, you know that she's a pundit on radio and plays a lot of roles in this space. I called her and I was crying. I remember I was crying. I said, Whitney, I am pregnant, but I see blood. And Whitney said, how many weeks were you? How many weeks gone are you? And I wasn't able to tell her. That's because I couldn't think straight. I didn't know. Because when I went for my last scan, the lady was not sure the period. She was quoting backwards, 8 weeks, when I knew I had entered my 10th week. The whole thing was very, very disturbing. So I said, Whitney, I don't know anymore. And I said, I've been calling my doctor, and my hospital is one of the most reputable hospitals in this country. I've been calling my doctor, but he's not picking up. I sent him a message. He's not gotten back to me. Whitney said, forget it. I'll give you a doctor. Let me call Dr. Atto and book his center for you to go there right away. And that's how we drove all the way to Wager, in the state of uncertainty, in the state of anguish, in the state of trauma, to see Dr. Atto. And Dr. Atto, for the second time, I think it was the third time, I had to do a transvaginal scan. And he saw the situation and says, no, you've miscarried. The baby is not forming. Nothing is happening. And if we leave this thing in there, it's just going to decay. There's nothing that's going to happen. It's better we flush out what is left. Ha, 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 ha. You can imagine. I don't know how I was able to compose myself to sit down there to listen to all the things he was saying. I called my husband to come and sit by me to listen to the stories that I was hearing. And we listened, and I remember my husband asking, so what really could be the cause? And the things that he tried to explain to us, I don't think I can remember any, because at that point, it didn't even make sense to me. That's how I miscarried after 3 months of being pregnant. And flashing out is another issue. I don't want to talk about the pain. I couldn't sleep all through the night when I returned on Thursday. I went through the procedure, the things I saw with my eyes, the pain I had to go through, waking up in between sleeps and going to, it was just unbearable. But once again, I want to say thanks to Whitney Boachi Mensah and thanks to Dr. Atto. You saved my life. I don't know what the story would have been, but now you give me professional help, Dr. Atto, and I'm very, very grateful. But ever since this situation happened, a lot of things have dawned on me. How people's joy could be cut short. People might get pregnant, they're expecting, and all of a sudden, nothing happens. And I've been asking myself about fellow women who might have been through a similar situation, and I've been very quiet about it, enduring the pain. You can imagine, this is my 4th year in marriage. I married in 2017, and a lot of people have reached out to me either in my DM, people who, they concern them, as in, I don't know them for anywhere, who will reach out and say, hey, and worry at you, that ben akolani beba, yeah, expecting akolano, that ben that kind of thing. And this is me sharing my story. So now you know. But what about those people who have not been able to share their stories and have been through similar phases in this life? Have a baby, get pregnant, lose a baby along the way, and you keep asking them, "Dabe na kolani beba, dabe na kolani beba," not thinking of how they're feeling, and all the in-laws and families and friends of ours who begin to send us messages and ask us these things. Charlie, let's relax. Let's relax, crowd, because a lot of people are going through things that they are not telling you about. After this experience, I've realized that I have done a lot of women wrong, at least the ones that have asked those questions in the past. By virtue of the job I do, we ask a lot of questions. We are quite inquisitive, and I'm sure that I've asked one or two people, hey, you've been married for quite a while. When are you having a child? Oh, when is the baby coming? Of course, out of ignorance. But having been through this phase, I realized how painful some of these people, or how painful an experience some of these people have had, and they haven't spoken about. And those who have been trying various ways to have babies, but yet are calling back. And you go asking them this in interviews, you go writing this in their on their timelines. I can now admit that I've been so wrong. And I take this opportunity to apologize to any woman that have asked this question in an interview. Henceforth, it's not going to happen until the consent is given me from that person to ask them a question about childbirth and maybe their struggles with childbirth. You won't hear me ask any woman about why they haven't given birth, because some of them have tried. Some of them have actually conceived, but ankusi aga, if that's how you people put it. And so I would like to entreat all of us to be very, very kind with our words when we meet married women. People who have been married for years. I've heard stories of people married for 10, 20 years, no child. Please, I hear people ask these questions, but sometimes it's so insensitive. I pray that nobody gets to go through the experience that I had. And for anybody who's been through the experience, I join you in faith that one day we will soon carry our own children. And I pray that people would bear with us until then and know that children are God-given. And when it's time for God to bless you with one, He will. I really had to do this because luckily for me, my husband was very supportive. And I can imagine those people who are driven by the words of their family members, especially mother-in-laws, who will say, hey, I'm going to look for another girl who can produce for my son or have a child for my son. Today, I sympathize with you because of being there. And I pray that we'll have people sympathizing with the same way. And I pray that the God will visit us as well as I share the story with you. So I decided to put together this video just to tell you that I miscarried after 3 months of pregnancy. But I'm here. I'm so glad that I have life. It's my birthday, and I can't but be thankful to God for life, hoping and believing that better days are ahead. And that's why I decided to encourage you with this video. May God bless you, and may He cause His face to shine upon you and I. Celebrate my birthday with me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday. Thank you for watching. God bless you.